Hello everyone and welcome to my Java tutorial series. In this particular episode I'm going to do sort of an introduction video. I'm not going to be able to do much teaching in this aside from the installation of all the necessary Java stuff, but I will go over sort of other random things that I don't want to just end up in an episode somewhere that I'm just trying to kind of tell people, because I want those to be, as dedicated much to teaching Java as possible. Sort of like my UDK stuff, though I did end up rambling a little bit in those too, so, who knows. But, first things first, the installation, and then I'll cover, all of the other stuff. So, the two things that you're going to absolutely have to have if you want to program in Java is, first of all, the Java runtime environment. Now, while this isn't truly necessary, if you want to test your program at all, or really run any Java programs at all, then you need to have the Java runtime environment. Actually, you should already have it on your computer because it's like usually factory installed, and hundreds of thousands of things use Java runtime environment all of the time. The internet, lots of programs, even some games use Java, so it should already be on your computer. If not, you can download it. Just go to the Oracle website. Speaking of which, the website, all of the download links for things, documentation, all kinds of stuff will be in the description. So if you think you might need something, just check out there and just look at the stuff that's in the description, because I'm sure what you need will be in there. I'll have all the download links for Java, the IDEs, which I'll talk about in a minute, even some hotkey stuff for some of the IDEs, and again, the Java documentation, so just check that out. Anyway, if you go to the main website here, just go to Downloads. Now you'll see two things. You'll have Java for Developers and Java for Your Computer. You'll need to actually install both of these if you don't already have Java for your computer. Now, most people don't need the Java for Developers thing, which is why they have them two separate things, but all you really need to do is just go here, just download the Java for Computer thing, and you should be fine. Very simple installation process. It's self-explanatory, should make lots of sense. Now, once you've got that done, or if you already had it done, go to Java for Developers and you'll see this. Now, what you're going to want to do is download the Java package that you want. I do not recommend getting Java 8, mostly because it's kind of buggy. I've had some issues with some programs not wanting to work correctly, and actually I had issues with my IDE not wanting to accept Java 8 at all in some specific scenarios of programming. So I uninstalled Java 8 and reinstalled Java 7 because I was having issues. So I recommend getting that. Again, it was very specific scenarios, so it may not be that much of an issue, but still, whatever. Until they fix that stuff, then you can go over to Java 8. But, just download the one that you want. You'll need, the JDK, not the JRE. You'll need the JDK. And you can also get a thing with the JDK with NetBeans. Of course, that's Java 8. Again, that's Java 8. But it already comes with both the necessary Java stuff and NetBeans, which NetBeans is an IDE, which I mentioned earlier. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Now what that means is that it's a way of viewing your code, editing your code, bug testing your code, and compiling your code. Now, all of that stuff probably makes absolutely no sense if you don't have any programming experience. But basically, before IDEs came along, if you wanted to do any programming, you'd have to open up like a word processing program, like something not like Word, but something like Notepad, where you could save it in a .txt file, and you would have to write your code in there, then save it. And then you would have to, at least for Java code, I don't know about other languages, but for Java code, you would have to open up specific files within, all of the Java files on your computer, and like program files or something. You'd have to go into Java and then go into the bin folder and then run like a specific program that would open up a command line in Windows, and then you have to like compile all of the various bits of .txt files into a .class file, and then you'd have to, turn that into a java.exe file. And then if something didn't work and your program didn't run, you'd have to decompile it and edit your code and then recompile it all back again, and it was a nightmare. So an IDE fixes all of that. I will show you an example of an IDE right here. There you go. So basically what you have here is a nice interface that allows you to see your code. You can edit your code very easily, and if something is incorrect, for instance this, it'll underline it in red so you know what the error is. 90% of the time it will catch the errors. If they're syntax things, if they're just plain programming errors, where it's just like you're comparing the wrong things, or you're looking for the wrong variable or something, it won't catch those. But if it's just syntax things, like you misspelt something, or you put a semicolon in the wrong spot or a parenthesis in the wrong spot, it'll tell you. So this it also allows you to like run your code, compile your stuff, file. You can save, and you can monitor like a lot of different projects and stuff here as well. It's very, very good to use. So this is actually Eclipse, which I will be using for all of the tutorials. But if you want to use NetBeans, here's NetBeans. I don't actually have it installed on my computer, so I can't show you that. But it works just the same. I've actually used both NetBeans and Eclipse before. The only reason I like Eclipse a little better is just the GUIs. Just to me, it's a little sleeker, and it's a little bit less invasive than NetBeans, but they're almost entirely identical. I think I'm a little biased towards Eclipse because I used it first. So, anyway, you can use either one. Anything that I do in the tutorials will translate no matter what IDE you use. And there's more than just these two IDEs. There's others if you want to try looking them up. They're all free. The JDK is free. Everything is free. You don't need to like pay for anything like you would have to do with UDK or CryEngine or some other big engine like that. This is just raw code. So the reason you have to pay for the other engines is because they already have all of the graphics stuff created for you. So for instance, they have a graphics engine, they have a lighting engine, they have wind effects, and they have an easy way for you to just import meshes and stuff and place them into a real-time world. Java is just raw code, so if you want that stuff, you'll have to code it yourself, which is why it's all free, because they can't really monitor the way you program. It's not possible. So, now this is, of course, the Eclipse website. If you want to download Eclipse, there it is. I'll have both of these links in there for you to use. But aside from the installation, which the installation of the programs themselves is fairly straightforward. Now, I'm not going to do a tutorial on like the interface of this because, first of all, it's not hard to figure out. I didn't even really need a tutorial. Second of all, I don't even use half the buttons up there. The only one I really use is the Save button, the Create New Class button, New Java Project button, and then like the Run button. So that's like the only four I ever use, so I don't even know what half the buttons do, because I've never needed them before, And it's not like something in UDK where you would be missing out on actual like content, if you didn't know what some of the buttons were, if you don't know what some of them are, it's not going to hurt your programming, because you don't need them to program, because you could do just as well in a text file, so it doesn't matter. So I'm not going to do a tutorial on the interface of either NetBeans or Eclipse. So I'll just have to assume that you know what all that stuff does when I do the tutorials. Now, other than that, but the basic sort of structure I wanted to do for all of these tutorials is start off real slow, because the way Java works, or really any programming language works, is it builds upon itself. And then it gets to like a peak, and then everything else, there's really nothing else above that peak. Once you've reached that point of knowledge, it's more of just sort of like a branching out rather than up. There's no more like high knowledge of, here's how this programming concept works. It's more of, here's how to use this function or this, class or something, because there's no more actual programming knowledge to it. So, for instance, if you learn how, like, a specific type of loop works, then there's no more loops to learn. And once you get past that, and you learn how, the for statements work, and the if statements work, and how GUIs work, and input of various kinds work, and how variables work, and, how to create classes and all that stuff, there's nothing really else I can teach you. So I'll just kind of be starting out slow, and once I get to that peak, from there I may do projects. So, just send me a comment, a message or something like that, saying, hey, I'd like you to do a project on like how to create a calculator or something. And then I'll do that. I won't use any other assets than what is available in the default, Java stuff. And then I can show you how to actually put all of the stuff that I've done in a tutorial together on. But I'm not going to just like keep doing tutorials all of the time, because I could. The reason I say that is that because I could. There are literally like hundreds upon hundreds of classes that each one I could do a separate tutorial on, and probably talk about it in detail. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sort of do basic programming concepts of how to do Java, sort of the Java syntax, sort of like, programmer syntax, and then GUIs in Java, because they're a little different than other languages. Each language sort of has their own way of doing GUIs, so that's sort of a necessity. But I'll do that in Java, and then from there, I'll just do projects if people request them. Otherwise, I'll just move on to some other tutorial. So I'll start out with the first video will be basically variables. And there's sort of going to be more or less two parts to them. It's going to be sort of like variables and how to create them and what they are. And then sort of doing stuff with variables, like some math and stuff. Because there's a lot more to doing math with variables than meets the eye. There's some more like nuances of things that I kind of need to talk about that aren't extremely apparent upon first look at it. So it'll be sort of like instantiate, because if I put them together, it'll be like an hour. I kind of want to split it up into smaller bits than that, so it'll be probably about 30 minutes each, maybe 30, 15. But from there, and see, I may put bits of code and not explain what it is in some of the videos. Maybe like to print something out to the screen. But in time, I will explain what those are. And I'll say, you may not know what this is, just kind of put this down here if you want to follow along. And because if I don't explain, if I have to explain every single little thing that I'm doing, we would be there all day. So I just kind of want to be able to put some stuff out there to show examples of things, if I'm doing math with variables, I want to show how it actually, prints to the screen and what the answers of things are. So, I'll need to do that, but I don't want to do a video of how to print stuff to the screen, because you need to understand how variables work, and that's what I'm trying to do a tutorial on. So, it's sort of like a paradox thing. So just kind of bear with me in parts that, I don't explain what code I'm writing, because there is a reason for it. And in one of the tutorials I will get to that. Now, if you have any feedback as to how I could do the tutorials better, or just thoughts of tutorials themselves, or projects or whatever, let me know. I will be happy to oblige. But other than that, I bid you adieu, and I will see you in another video.